Gu Chengshu, who has walked out of the realm of contemplation, seems to be someone who wants to kill her and seize her treasure. Can others tolerate it? Can this be tolerated? Come on, go ahead. ... This article is also known as the Demon Slayer, the demon who kills and seizes treasures, the demon who counterattacks external enemies, and the demon who strongly transforms a realm of life into a blood eater. It is even more demonic. Keywords of the novel. Many fairies in my family are sick without pop-ups, many fairies in my family are sick. Download the complete set of TXT, and read the latest chapters on how many fairies in my family are sick. Chapter 1. Siguo Cliff. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Siguo Cliff. Lingyun Sect, Siguo Cliff, howling wind, swirling around people covered in thin frost, as if searching for a heat source to extinguish at any time. Covering her head and face, Gu Chengshu meditated in a strange posture, trying to ignore it and repeatedly accelerating the operation of the heaven and earth decision. It's not that she doesn't want to prop up a spiritual energy shield to protect herself, it's just that she misses the wind on the cliff, which implies the cold sha of the cold pool below, and has been set up with special restrictions. The spiritual energy shield under the Yuanying is the one that helps to inflate the cold sha, and whoever prop up will be unlucky. Is it just a thought? She hasn't thought about it, so how does she think? All Gu Chengshu can think of now is one word: hurry. How to make heaven and earth run faster. It started running, thinking that no matter how strong the wind was on the cliff, and no matter how heavy the cold demon was in the cold pool below, it was nothing to her. Gu Chengshu, who has been wearing her robe and storage bag for almost 3 months, already knows how to survive here. Once thinking of the days when she used to lie in bed reading online articles, Gu Chengshu let out a gentle sigh. The current body, with the same name and surname as her, appears to have wealth, a master, childhood sweethearts, and a decent spiritual foundation. However, in reality, wealth is illusory. The master is the father of childhood sweethearts, and childhood sweethearts have a sense of belonging. If it's just that, it's okay, but unfortunately Gu Chengshu let out a long breath, preventing the almost seamless connection between emotions and memories from affecting the operation of Tiandi decision. Anyway, she must live first before she can say anything about the future. The bridge between the palms and soles of the feet became smooth again, and the small world within her body was reshaped. Gu Chengshu once again became immersed in cultivation without knowing the sun and moon. What did you say? Chengshu was punished to the Siguo cliff. The words from the disciples of the sect made Feng Lan, who had just flown down the building in return to the sect, very unhappy. For what? Miss Gu injured a disciple from the outer gate. Jiang Bian frowned as he replied, the disciple said she took advantage of her kindness, bullied junior brother Yin, and was not worthy of being Uncle Yin's disciple. He also said that if Uncle Gu was still alive, he would definitely be ashamed of her. What? Feng Lan suddenly turned around and said, what did Uncle Yin say? Uncle Yin has closed down and is not here. Master Gung from the punishment hall said that it is a taboo for fellow disciples to harm each other. Anyway, it was her fault that Sister Gu beat someone half to death in front of everyone, so she was punished for 3 months. What about you? What are you doing? Master's words are so cold. Jiang Bian's face turned pale as she hurriedly followed her footsteps to the execution hall. I went to plead, Master Gung scolded me, she said at this moment. He was truly grateful that he had decided to go through the motions, otherwise Feng Lan Zhengjiang's face softened and he said, what about Yin Cheng? How did Chengshu bully him? After Chengshu was punished, what did he say? The cause of the incident is said to be due to a Yin Yuan grass, which was sold as ordinary Yin Yu grass by unscrupulous cultivators at a stall. They may have seen it both at the same time, and in the end, the Yin Yuan grass was bought by Sister Gu, and then a disciple avenged Brother Yin. I heard that before this, there were several small matters, but none of them caused a big fuss. This time, it was probably because the disciple talked about Master Gu, and the junior sister was so angry that she fought harder. Jiang Bian's mouth was a bit dry, and he glanced at his master. As for Yin Shidi, he has been fighting all along, but Gu Shimi almost injured him. When Geng Shibua asked him, he said he didn't care about his Shimi's affairs, it was his own carelessness. He also wanted to plead for Gu Shimi, but the injured person didn't agree. These days, I heard that he often went to take care of that disciple, while redeeming Gu Shimi and trying to calm him down before pleading together. How long has Chengshu been at the Siguo cliff? Feng Lan was quite satisfied and asked as she walked. Ah. The riverbank hesitated for a moment, paused for a few breaths. It's been almost 3 months. Feng Lan, who strode towards the punishment hall, suddenly paused and turned her head to stare at her disciple for a moment. Her voice was as cold as ice. How many days are there for 3 months? The riverbank swallowed a mouthful of saliva and quickly calculated, 4 days. It seemed like something was flashing through his mind, but he didn't catch it all at once. 4 days. How brave. Feng Lan narrowed her eyes and said, where is the disciple now? At Geng Shibua's place. He said that he was able to be fearless of power and not tempted by profit. He was a good candidate for the punishment hall and had already taken him as a named disciple. Ha! Feng Lan laughed angrily and said, what a great play. Have you seen Chengshu at Siguo Cliff these days? After taking over the punishment hall, Master Geng strictly controlled it and did not allow any of us to enter or exit at will. Feng Lan closed her eyes and said, by the river, do you really dislike Gu Chengshu? No, no, I dare not. Is that not true, or are you afraid? Gu. Junior sister Gu is a bit spoiled. Although I don't really like her, I definitely don't dislike her. Alright, don't say anything more. Feng Lan interrupted, go back and face the wall for 3 months. Without my orders, you won't be allowed to come out. Ah. The riverbank opened its mouth and lowered its head. Yes. Yin junior brother seems to be a bit wrong with Gu junior sister. He thinking of master's solemn instructions to take care of sister Gu before leaving. Jianpan's heart trembled and he quickly went back to face the wall. Feng Lan snorted coldly and hesitated for a moment between Zhengjiang Peak and Siguo Cliff, before finally flashing towards Siguo Cliff. After a while, she looked at the girl who had been stripped of her magic robe and only wore a middle coat. She took off her sleeves and covered her head with the length of her middle coat, but couldn't resist the cold. She bent over and bent down on her legs, using her martial arts to fight against the cold demon of Siguo Cliff. A hint of tenderness flashed in her eyes. But the 3-month sentence is approaching in the blink of an eye, and if she intervenes again now, even if her surname Geng is willing to compromise, she will definitely not have any good words. Feng Lan suddenly sensed something, her figure flickered and her traces disappeared. Chengshu. In no time, a figure quickly approached, but Yin Zhenghai, who had just left the stage, personally came and said, you have suffered. Follow me home. Home. The cold air around her was instantly replaced by warmth, and Gu Chengshu couldn't be indifferent. She slowly finished her work and when she looked up, she saw a hazy shadow. Master has come to pick you up. Yin Zhenghai saw the large black stains that had solidified on his apprentice's shirt, his eyes flickered, and his voice became softer. Don't worry, Master will definitely give you an explanation about this matter. Confession. Pulling off the thin clothes with a hood, Gu Chengshu finally saw the person in front of her clearly. Yin Zhenghai, the head of Zhengjiang Peak, was a cultivator in the early days of Yuanying and her good master. Master. It's Master. Yin Zhenghai's face was full of pity. Let's go, follow me home. Go home, return to Zhengjiang Peak. Gu Chengshu was taken aback and said, Master, it's true that I hit someone. Master Geng punished me according to the law, and it's not a violation. Don't worry, I'll be back in a few more days. Zhengjang. Very good, this girl seems to be more sensible now. His face changed and he said, it's okay, I've already made an agreement with your master Gung that you can come home with me now. Master, I don't want you to owe me the favor of Master Gung. Chengshu almost couldn't control her expression on her face. I've been holding back for so many days, do you still care about just 4 days? This. Zhengjang was very pleased that the little girl could always have this kind of heart. So, I'll wait a few more days as a teacher. Don't worry, I've already scolded him from Chang's place. Master, it's not about Senior Chang's business. Chengshu tried her best to suppress her resentment and said, it's Zhang Minglin, he has no good intentions. I know, he is now. Zhengjang's face showed a hint of anger. He has already worshipped Gung Shu as his teacher and joined the punishment hall. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Repaying kindness with gratitude. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Repaying kindness with gratitude. Have you become a disciple of Gung Shu? Chengshu fell silent. She didn't know what kind of enmity her original father had with Gung Shu. After her original father's death, even children would be targeted. I'll temporarily avoid him. Wait for her to endure this disaster, let's talk about it later. Avoiding is unnecessary. As long as you don't make mistakes, even Gung Shu can't do anything to you in person. Zhengjang raised his hand and took out a thick fur cloak. It's too cold here. I have a 6th level green fox cloak, and from now on, it's yours. Put it on well, and in 4 days, I'll come back to pick you up. Thank you very much, Master. Chengshu did not refuse. Knowing that she was here, but her master gave her a men's cloak, doesn't she know what that means? What to give to her is clearly to turn a hand from her and give it to his own son. It used to be like this all along. In front of her, he gave her a lot of pills, talismans, and stones. But when he turned around, Cheng sighed and said, this one is also lacking, that one is also lacking. Then, this silly girl even wants to post her own things. But now, Master, please leave quickly. I will be fine. Why did she send that bastard? Not easy to wear, won't it sell for money? The master and apprentice bid farewell affectionately until they could no longer be seen. Chengshu, who was wearing a thick coat of fur, then bent down again, her palms pressed back to her feet, and she made a decision to move heaven and earth. This is also her helpless move to cultivate the determination of heaven and earth. The original body was punished by Siguo Cliff, both angry and hateful. She vomited blood on the spot and couldn't control her emotions several times. If it weren't for her wearing it, she would either freeze here or fall into the cold pool below, enduring the more terrifying pain of the cold evil invading her body. But even if she comes, it will be a close call. Because vomiting blood injured the heart and meridians, coupled with the uncontrollable anger before her original body died, even if she had the memories of her original body, the operation of heaven and earth was still bumpy. Even if you lean against the cold cliff and sit straight up, even if you don't fall into the cold pool, you will still freeze to death. In order to preserve her body's heat, Chengshu simply bent down and aimed her palms at her soles, allowing the heat from both to circulate. Unexpectedly, in this way, the originally somewhat obscure Tiandi-ju became smoother, and the heart meridian damaged by vomiting blood was slowly calmed down by Tiandi-ju. Now Chengshu suspected that her palms and soles were facing each other, and that when she formed a small world in her own body, she was more in harmony with the world to determine this skill. As the saying goes, the human body is small and the heavens and the earth are large, and Taoism already has the concept of unity between heaven and man. As she entered the cultivation state again, she didn't know that Fenglan Zhengjiang, whom her original body had been thinking about before her death, was hidden not far away. That's someone who can find a place for the original body. Before the original body dissipated, she didn't forget to remind her that if she couldn't withstand it, she would leave a blood letter no matter what, and everything would be passed on to Master Fenglan, never giving away to her so-called master or fiancé. Gu Chengshu let out a soft sigh. She knows what her original self hates the most. What to repay with gratitude? Her father really fell because he saved Yin Zhenghai. It's just that. The engagement was made by the master who rushed to his son before his father's death. When her father was alive, it was understandable for others to say she was spoiled, because at that time, she had the capital to be spoiled. Her father was willing to spoil her, and others were willing to hold her in front of her father. But when her father died, she pitifully moved from the valley to Zhengjiang peak. My master seems to love her very much, with spiritual stones, elixirs, and magical tools tightly attached to her, even leaving my own son aside. But is this really the case? At first, the little girl was still naive and felt sorry for Yin Cheng. She shared everything with him. Even happy because of sharing, but slowly she realized that no matter how much she shared, even if she filled in the distribution she deserved, she also filled in the family's assets. On Tianxiang Peak, in the Yin family, she was also an outsider. It seems that even the miscellaneous disciples feel that because of her, the things that Feng Tu can distribute to them have decreased. She didn't know what to do, so she could only be more careful and sensible, showing everything her master had given her as openly as possible, and handing it over time in front of everyone. But the name of indulgence continues to grow day by day. Yin Cheng became increasingly impatient when facing her. That Yin Yuan grass was clearly discovered by her and bought by her with money. It was only because Gung Ruoqi liked it that Yin Cheng wanted her to be sensible enough to give up, and also to give up at the price of picking up the loopholes. Why? The little girl had long noticed that something was wrong with her so-called fiancé when facing Gung Ruoqi. That gaze was full of admiration, always giving to Gung Ruoqi. But she is clearly engaged to him. Yin Cheng also knew clearly that the Gung family had been targeting her with a vague and ambiguous attitude. This time what Zhang Minglin said was so unpleasant, but when Yin Cheng heard it, it was as if he hadn't heard it. He also urged her to give Yin Yuan grass quickly. How could she back down? Can you blame her for hitting him too? I only hate the patrol for detecting too quickly and hitting too lightly. However, thinking of Gung Ruoqi, who eventually retreated completely, Gu Chengshu's face also became very unhappy. The operation of heaven and earth is once again obstructed at the bridge between the palms and soles of the feet. Gu Chengshu could only suppress her surging emotions, exhale and inhale hard, warning herself to hold back first, endure this wave, take back all her belongings, and then slowly settle the accounts. It took her a while for her spiritual energy to stabilize again. Feng Lan, who was hiding in the dark, felt lost in thought and stayed with her for a while longer. After confirming that there was no problem with her, she left silently again. Tianxiang Peak, upon hearing his father's call, Yin Cheng hurriedly rushed over. Dad, do you call me? Sit down. Dad. Yin Cheng asked while sitting, did Master Fenglan really go to Siguo Cliff to see Chengshu? Has she gone to see Chengshu? What does it have to do with you? Yin Zhenghai rubbed his eyebrows and, as he looked at his son again, his gaze was sharp. I have to ask you, what's going on with Yin Yuan grass? You guys can just play around on weekdays. What are you doing when Zhang Minglin arranges me and your Uncle Gu inside? Are you helping Zhang Minglin more or Chengshu more when you are pulling a fight? How did I hear that Chengshu even beat you? The last sentence made Yin Cheng feel a bit embarrassed. Isn't it just a Yin Yuan grass? I didn't expect Chengshu to be so stingy and petty. Zhang Minglin didn't scold me wrong. Seeing that his father's expression was not right, his voice decreased a bit. I didn't want to pull the crossbar, but Zhang Minglin has just built the foundation. Who is Chengshu's opponent? She seemed crazy that day. If it weren't for the timely inspection by the local patrol, even I would have had to lie in bed for a few days. I'm really fed up, Dad. Fool. What? Seeing his father's furious expression, Yin Cheng's face turned pale. Dad. I know our family owes Uncle Gu, but haven't you already accepted Shu as a disciple? Everything good about Tianxiangfeng is hers. I don't argue with her, but I really don't like her. Dad, I have always liked Ruoqi since I was young. Please help me, I will definitely treat Chengshu as my own sister in the future. Pop. Yin Cheng fell heavily to the side. He covered his face in disbelief and looked at his father. You hit me. Because Gu Chengshu hit me. He couldn't bear it anymore. Dad, you go outside and listen to what everyone says about Gu Chengshu. There are so many ways to repay kindness, why should you spend my whole life together? Pop. Another slap made his two faces swollen into the same shape. Yin Zhenghai didn't seem to see the waiter stretching his head. He lightly flicked the barrier and then said, Gum Ruoqi. I knew there was also something about Gum Ruoqi here. He gritted his teeth, really hating that iron cannot be made into steel. Do you know that you are a knife in the hands of the Gung family? Don't you know that Gung Shu and your master Gu won't deal with you? Does Gung Ruoqi want Yin Yuan grass and use you as a cover Yin Cheng? He knows that Master Gung and Master Gu are not compatible, and Ruoqi certainly doesn't like Gu Chengshu either. If it weren't for Gu Chengshu, they would definitely be together. Master Gung is so talented, and if Qi Lingzhen has good qualifications, his father will definitely agree to their marriage. What kind of gaze are you looking at? Are you willing to be the knife in Gung Ruoqi's hand, right? Why did he give birth to such a stupid thing? Yin Zhenghai was so angry that he wanted to whip him. When you did that, did you ever think about your father and me? No wonder Chengshu even beat you together. No wonder when I saw her today, the little girl's eyes were a bit off. Your engagement was made by your father and I, who rushed to get married, and it is something that everyone knows. You are so attentive to Gung Ruoqi, what do you want Chengshu to think? What do you want others to think? Others only think that Shu is not worthy of me. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. One Flower, One World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. One Flower, One World can't match him. Yin Zhenghai's heart skipped a beat as he picked up the tea bowl in front of him and smashed it out. Bang! Although he temporarily regained most of his strength, when the tea bowl was smashed down, Yin Cheng still couldn't bear it. The two magic tools of the automatic protector didn't have time to protect each other. Half a cup of tea and blood flowed all over his face. Yin Zhenghai shook his hand and shouted, "Get out." If he doesn't get out again, he's afraid he won't be angry for a moment and will throw something at him again. Yin Cheng remained silent and rolled out in a hurry. Of course, anyone with eyes can see his appearance. Sure enough, as long as it involves Gu Chengshu, even junior brother Yin will be unlucky. Not long after, Feng Lan received the news that due to Gu Chengshu, Yin Zhenghai had beaten Yin Cheng's head in blood. Ho Feng Lan sneered and said, if Yin Zhenghai does this, if Chengshu marries Yin Cheng, she will have a good life. Is he helping Chengshu or is he blackmailing Chengshu? And her foolish disciple thinking of the foolish disciple, Feng Lan's eyes became sharp, her figure flashed, and she lifted her foot to kick away the quiet room facing him. The riverbank was startled and quickly collapsed. Master. Look. She threw the newly received message Yujian to her disciple and said, after reading it, tell me your thoughts. The riverbank held the jade slips and saw that Yin Cheng had been beaten by his father to a swollen face and a rotten head due to becoming a Shu. His mood was really complicated. Do you think Uncle Yin is good to Chengshu? The riverbank hesitated for a moment and said. Good. He once saw with his own eyes that Uncle Yin had provided the sect he had just received, a whole of 5 high-quality spirit stones, and casually gave them to Chengshu. I heard that this kind of thing has happened more than once. So, should it be good? Feng Lan, however, was met with hesitation and then a firm expression on her face, which made her angry. How did she accept such a foolish disciple in the first place? I have been away from the sect for 10 years. When I left, you were in the early stage of forming pills. Now that I am back, you are still in the early stage of forming pills. By the river, I ask you, have you practiced well in these 10 years? After finally advancing to the rank and obtaining the elixir, he thought he could relax a bit. Jiangpan lowered his head and said, my disciple is not as diligent as before. Not only are you not as diligent as before, but you are also dumber than before. Feng Lan showed no mercy and said, I'm not in Mingfeng Valley, and neither is your senior sister. You're the king of the mountains in Mingfeng Valley, are you drifting away? Lower your head even harder by the riverbank. You said that Uncle Yin was kind to Chengshu, and I asked you, if you were Yin Cheng, who has been scolded, punished, and beaten by me several times because of Chengshu, would you hate her? Even if you were born with a lenient nature, you wouldn't hate her. Is it difficult, and you don't even dislike her? The riverbank suddenly looked up. He just said, what's wrong? So, Yin. Uncle Yin wants to be good to Chengshu, maybe. The method he used may be a bit wrong. Feng Lan. I didn't cut my own flesh. It's just that. Feng Lan suddenly didn't want to care about this fool anymore. He would not always let others trample on her like a master, even if he kept reciting her more. Since that's what you think, then let's think so. Feng Lan turned around and walked away, the period of facing the wall is over. Can you give me 10 years as a guard in the misty forest? A master-apprentice battle, his brain, she had no choice but to save his combat power. Time slipped by unnoticed, and the period of march finally arrived. Early in the morning, Yin Zhenghai, accompanied by 2 disciples from the punishment hall, arrived at Siguo cliff together. Chengshu, go home with your master. Gu Chengshu wrapped herself tightly in a cloak and said, yes. She was wearing thin nylon stockings and carefully climbed along the narrow mountain path to the top of the cliff. After the disciples of the punishment hall repeatedly printed their fingerprints and broke the restriction on her from the Siguo cliff, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Gu's robe and storage bag are sealed in the storage cabinet of the punishment hall. Take this token and go and retrieve it yourself. Thank you very much, senior brother. After receiving the punishment order from the disciple of the punishment hall, Gu Chengshu followed her master to the punishment hall without looking back. Fortunately, nothing happened. Li Chong, who saw them walking away and gave her the execution order, breathed a sigh of relief and said, that day when I saw her come down from the cliff, she vomited a big mouthful of blood. This matter. We can't control it. It was personally judged by their hall master. Zheng Yuan said, we just need to act according to the law. It's strange, Gu Chengshu sent the bright handle to the execution hall. I didn't say anything about it, Li Chong sighed. I was just worried that she would never give up with junior brother Zhang. I don't think so. Zheng Yuan squinted his eyes and said, if you suffer a loss, you will always gain wisdom. Otherwise, 4 days ago, when Elder Yin came to pick her up, she wouldn't have refused and only left now. 4 days may seem short, but for these second-generation ancestors, it is also very difficult to endure. I hope so, everyone is at ease. How good it would be to whip a few times and close the dungeon of the punishment hall. It's been a long time since the execution hall, and I haven't made anyone reach the Siguo cliff. The master punished Gu Chengshu to the deserted Siguo cliff like this, and he carried a heart every day, afraid of any accidents. Fortunately, it passed safely. The 2 of them walked back slowly to avoid possible conflicts. At this time, the steward of the storage cabinet was also worried that a certain ancestor would rely on the backstage accompanying them to pick their thorns. On sight, the seal of the day was torn open, and in the Qianquan jade box, there were light pink phantom fans, vests, storage bags, and boots. They were the same as before, but of course they are still the same now. There is no trace of any movement on the divine sense mark on the storage bag. However, Chengshu still looked carefully. There aren't many things inside. There are 25 medium-grade spirit stones, 732 inferior spirit stones, 8 empty Qianquan jade boxes, and 41 mostly empty jade boxes. There are several talismans and 4 pill bottles, each containing Xiaohuan Dan, Jiedu Dan, Juyuan Dan, and Pigu Dan. In addition to these, there are 2 semi-spiritual level standard vests issued by the sect. Compared to ordinary foundation building cultivators, her wealth is not bad, but she also inherited her father's small valley and a shop. Where is my Yin Yuan grass? After reinserting the small phantom fan that looked like a toy into her hair, Chengshu applied a dust purification technique to herself, put on her boots, and put on her magic robe. That was what I bought for 20.5 spirit stones, she said. The deacon glanced at Elder Yin, who was also looking at him, and coughed lightly. At that time, you only handed in these, and I also pasted the seal in front of you. As for Yin Yuan grass. Master, I remember. As evidence, Yin Yuan grass was taken away by the then Master Gung. Can you help me retrieve it? Nature. What about his disciples' belongings? Why does Gung Shu take them? You go back first, and I will come as soon as I go. Yes. Chengshu collected her belongings and, according to her original memory, lightly lifted her spiritual power, heading towards the small valley without looking back. Along the way, she flew very slowly and not high. Although flying in this body was as natural and simple as eating and drinking water, when she first followed the master to the punishment hall, she did not lose her original level at all. However, at that time, her heart was filled with anger, forgetting fear and everything else. This moment Chengshu adapted to flying in the sky while observing the top immortal sects in this world. As one of the 4 immortal sects in the Fuyuan realm, there are 2 legendary ancestors of the Lingyun sect who transformed into gods. Her father, Wencheng's master, is one of the ancestors of the transformation of gods, the innocent Star Lord. If it weren't for this Star Lord, her father would have fallen behind, and Xiaohe Valley would have taken over the sect long ago. Although there is not much production there, there is also a small spiritual vein underground, and her spiritual energy is not inferior to Tianxiang Peak. Otherwise, she would have worshipped her father under the sect of the transforming god Star Lord and would not have lived there until the Yuaning period. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to stand on my own peak yet, so Chengshu let out a soft sigh. It's been 3 months now, and she seems to be Chengshu here. Her body, cultivation, memory, emotions, everything is so real and natural. It was Chengshu, who had been lying in the hospital all year round, abandoned by wealthy parents and only threw money away, that gradually faded away as a memory. One flower, one world, one leaf, one Bodhi. She and Chengshu here are actually each other in a parallel world, right? Otherwise, how could the original body, which was originally ferocious and thought she was going to give up and have to fight with her before dissipating, be stunned for a moment, and finally condense memories and emotional soul clusters, press into her soul body, and leave with a smile? They look so much like each other. Chengshu flew all the way, gazing at the familiar yet unfamiliar fairy mountains and beautiful scenery, all of which were far beyond what Xianxia TV could fully portray. After a while, she flew to the southern foothills, pressed into the small valley of the sect's main formation, and entered with the formation card. Everything in the valley was in front of her. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Disgusting Things. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Disgusting Things. The small valley shrouded in spiritual mist is quiet and peaceful. A small bamboo tower, 2 red blood fruit trees that have only bloomed but not yet borne fruit, a 3-acre spiritual field, and a small medicinal field opened up by her father in the early stage of pill making when he settled in Xiaogu. Everything was so close. The sect did not actively reclaim the small valley, and of course, Gu Chengshu would not give up the place where she grew up. Even she had already prepared herself, Jinjiejidan, and was fully prepared to stay back. Gu Chengshu walked towards Lingtian. When she was very young, before she could breathe air into her body, her parents would play farming as a game with her, who stumbled and stumbled while walking. At this time, the lingu in the field was already ripe. The slightly purple rice ears are plump and plump. This is the finest purple rice. Not the kind of ordinary spiritual valley that can harvest 2 seasons a year. At the current market price, a spirit stone can only be bought for half a pound. 3 acres of Lingtian can harvest over 1,800 kilograms of pure purple rice without shells every year, and it has always been stable. With this field alone, there is an income of nearly 4,000 spiritual stones per year. In theory, she should be very wealthy, but except for the first 2 years, all the remaining lingmi was sent to the small kitchen of Tiangxiangfeng. Although she also ate there, later on, she became increasingly unwilling to go. There is no erysipelas, no need for cultivation. Eating top-grade purple rice that can automatically generate spiritual power for oneself almost cheats those white-eyed wolves. A killing intent flashed in Gu Chengshu's eyes. The spiritual energy transforming knife in hand covers the rice field like a madness. The heavy rice ears floated up one by one, and after a while, the spiritual light in Gu Chengshu's hand turned into 2 strands, twisting towards the rice ears. Didn't you come back? Yin Zhenghai, who had drunk 2 cups of tea from the punishment hall and returned from begging for Yin Yuan Chao, furrowed his brows tightly and said, Yin Cheng, go and look for it in the small valley. In the past 2 years, that girl has been mostly in the small valley. However, I used to be quite close to Fenglan, but now Fenglan is back. If there is no small valley, it will be located in Mingfeng Valley. Exactly, let them all take a look. He punished Yin Cheng. Yin Cheng, Uncle Gu died because of me. You are my child, and you have the responsibility to take care of Chengshu. Speaking of which, Yin Zhenghai's eyes were heavy. If I hear again that you bullied Chengshu because of an outsider, don't blame your father for being merciless and send you into the Siguo cliff. Chengshu stayed there for 3 months, you haven't had 3 years, don't think about it. I can't figure it out, then it's only 30 years, 300 years. Did you hear me clearly? Yin Cheng's mouth trembled and he said, I'll go find Sister Gu. He rushed towards the small valley with an overly pale face on his face. Chengshu. Holding the small valley formation card that Gu Chengshu had given a long time ago, Yin Cheng flew in smoothly and unobstructed. Why don't you tell my dad when you go back to Xiaohe Valley? I turned out to have come back to harvest the spiritual rice. Or call me, I can also help you. He looked at her and put the crystal full purple rice into the Qianquan jade box, his voice softened. Are you still blaming me? I know I did a bit too much that day, but it was just a Yin Yuan grass. Uncle Gu is not here. If you can get along with Ruoqi, Master Gung has a lot, maybe you can let go of your prejudices against Uncle Gu. You. Get out of here. What? Yin Cheng looked at Gu Chengshu incredulously for so long, still feeling angry. Didn't you hear what I said? Gu Chengshu's eyes filled with murderous intent. Give me back the forbidden card of Xiaogu Valley, and then, where are you from? Are you serious? Yin Cheng threw the prohibition card to her and said, Gu Chengshu, without my father, do you think this small valley is still yours? It was taken back by the sect a long time ago. Yes, your father died for my father, but can this be a reason for you to do whatever you want at this point? He was very heartbroken and said, Uncle Gu is such a good person, why are you like this? Phew! The phantom fan suddenly pushed against his throat, a cold and cut sensation tightly locking his throat. Yin Cheng couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva and said, what are you? What are you doing? Have you ever heard of, one life is one life. What? Yin Cheng widened his eyes and inexplicably felt a sense of fear in his heart, as if she dared to disregard their relationship and take his life. But how could it be? What's a life for a life? He swallowed a mouthful of saliva with some difficulty. Chengshu, can we stop making trouble? Thinking of the fierce beating she had on Fang Shi that day, as well as his father's warning, he could only soften his voice. We still have an engagement, and you are still my biological sister. Please control your temper well, Bang Gu Chengshu kicked him out several feet, and Yin Cheng fell to the ground. Although the area where his abdomen was kicked was particularly painful, he dared not lower his head to look, and the phantom fan was still tightly pressed against his throat. Cough cough, a few uncontrollable coughs made him feel like his neck was punctured, and even blood might have flowed out. Gu Chengshu, what are you really going to do? You told me about the engagement. Gu Chengshu walked up to him step by step and said, do you think I'm blind both in my heart and eyes? Do you like gum ruachi? Yin Yuan grass is clearly something I can pick up, but you, the so-called fiancé and senior brother, forced me to sell it to Gung Ruachi at the price of picking up leaks. Go out and ask, is there a fiancé or senior brother like you in this world? Yin Cheng spoke a few times, but couldn't say a rebuttal. But before. She listened to everything he said. Yin Cheng, before I thought you were my fiancé and senior brother, giving way to you everywhere, but that doesn't mean I have to give way to you forever. Do you? Do I really like to let me know? He was also angry with her, my dad's things are all mine, but if you go, I'm nothing. Moreover, what I have always liked is ruachi. It was you who inserted a lever horizontally. Gu Chengshu interrupted sternly, then let's terminate our engagement. If our master doesn't release us, please ask the master to come forward. Excuse me, master. Yin Cheng's heart couldn't help but move. But his father's words still linger in his ears, he dare not. You don't like me, coincidentally, I don't like you either. What? Yin Cheng couldn't believe it. However, seeing her serious demeanor, his heart suddenly became excited and there was an indescribable sense of loss. Excitedly, if Gu Chengshu strongly resists their engagement and his father will most likely agree, then he can be with Ruachi and feel disappointed. Stand up, let's go to Lingyun Hall now. This matter should be done sooner rather than later. Gu Chengshu raised her hand and withdrew the phantom fan. Don't worry, it's me who wants to divorce. Master is responsible, I'll take responsibility for you. Yin Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. After 13 years in the same family, she never fell into trouble in front of his father. Whenever there was anything, she always stood in front of him. He touched his neck and found that there were no wounds here either. She used a phantom technique on him and said, you said you wanted to divorce yourself, you. Whoever doesn't retreat, who is the dog? Gu Chengshu picked up the Qiankuan jade box filled with purple rice and said, keep your appearance tidy and walk quickly. Yin Cheng pressed on the area where she had kicked him and hit the magic garment that had imprinted his footprints. He then followed her and rushed out of the small valley towards the Lingyun Hall. Both of them used the fastest speed in their lives, and when they arrived at Lingyun Hall, the leader Dantai Shua was in the middle of a month, enjoying a rare leisure time. Gu Chengshu. Yin Cheng. Goodbye, master. It's you too. No gifts, no gifts. Seeing Gu Chengshu, Dan Taishua's gaze flickered and he gave a glance to the deacon disciple, smiling and saying, Junior brother Yin, it's okay. Are you here for something? Senior uncle, senior brother Yin and I have incompatible personalities. Please help us terminate our engagement, senior uncle. What? Dan Taishua blinked his eyes and looked at Yin Cheng. Master. Gu Chengshu knelt down and said, everyone said that my engagement with senior brother Ian was a show of gratitude. Senior brother Ian has always been very resistant, and I am also very resistant. After thinking about Cliff for 3 months, I have come to understand that I cannot take my father's life to buy such a thing that may cause me trouble for a lifetime. Hurrying in, wanting to persuade them to leave, Wan Linglong stood in front of the hall with her master's quiet footsteps paused. The other deacon disciples couldn't help but perk up their ears. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Account books. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Account books. Yin Cheng was completely confused. In front of so many people, how could he be such a troublemaker? His face was blue and white, both shy, angry, and angry. He even shook his voice and said, "Gu Chengshu, you. Am I wrong?" When Gu Chengshu turned around, her anger in her eyes seemed to be scorching, forcing Yin Cheng to take a step back and say, "Since I was worshipped at Zhengjiang Peak, you have always looked down on me. Do you think my master has given me everything, your spiritual stone, your magical tool, your elixir? You complain inside the peak, you complain outside the peak, I stole your things, but Yin Cheng, look at what you're wearing, what's on your waist, and what's on your head, which one isn't what I gave you? Do you say I am ungrateful? If my father is alive, do I need to learn from my master? Can my dad not hurt me? Is engagement what I want? It was master who begged for it before my father died. Yes, master has rewarded me with many things, and I have a list of rewards from his elderly family over the years." Gu Chengshu flipped out the list of things she had left in her dark room at home and said, "Open your dog's eyes and see if I have returned all the things my master gave me. This is the 5th year since joining Zhengjiang Peak." The Yin family opened their shop next door to her, borrowing both this and that. At first, the shopkeeper, Uncle Yu, thought that she would marry into the Yin family and work hard to help maintain it. Hello to the Yin family, hello to everyone, but gradually, they even took over their business. Uncle Yu was worried, but he didn't dare to do anything. He didn't even have any guidance and only kept all the accounts related to the Yin family in front of her, setting up a new account book. I am not foolish at first, but I remained silent for a long time when I went back. While desperately accepting sect missions, I learned from them and secretly took notes. Gu Chengshu casually picked out a passage and read aloud, "On the 25th day of the 3rd lunar month in the year of Renin, my master rewarded him with 100 medium-grade spirit stones and 2 bottles of Jiyuan Dan." In the evening, senior brother Yin Cheng said that he was interested in a pair of top-grade wind boots and needed 120 medium-grade spirit stones. I added 20 medium-grade spirit stones to him together. My senior brother also said that he only had 3 Jiyuan pills. I raised my hand and stuffed both bottles of Jiyuan pills into his hand. "Master." In Gu Chengshu's voice, there was a strong cry and uncontrollable anger, and she vigorously knocked on the ground several times. I remember every stroke clearly, master can check it, and I can swear with my heart, every word I remember is true. When she could feel these things in her original self, she felt very sad, suspicious, and afraid. When I joined Zhengjiang Peak, I knew it was my master and master's love for me. I cherished this love, and I tried hard to repay it. However, for 13 years, the increasingly indulgent name still stuck on my head. Yin Cheng, a loud shout echoed in his ears, but upon receiving the news, Yin Zhenghai rushed over. "You beast! What are you doing? I'm not dead yet, and you're bullying Chengshu again." Wan Linglong glared at the servant disciple, "What are you doing with your hands so fast?" The deacon disciple who summoned Yin Zhenghai also regretted it. "If I had known earlier, it would have been slower." "Master." Gu Chengshu didn't care and fell to his knees in fear, then turned her head and knocked several times. In fact, the direction she kowtowed was not the main gate, but the pillar to the east. "Please, master, in front of my father, give me a way out and let me break this engagement," she said. "What?" Yin Zhenghai's face turned pale when he saw his senior brother standing up seriously, his foolish son, and his disciple who was about to break his head. Why so much, why so much? Chengshu, I will teach your senior brother well, you. Master. Gu Chengshu, who had been lying on the ground without looking up, spoke in a desolate voice, I want to live, I don't want to be angry to death. The result of endurance can be seen from the original body. Gu Chengshu dared not think of the result of retreating again, I swear by the devil that I found the Yin Yuan grass and picked up the leek. However, the elder martial brother likes Gung Ruoji, so he forced me to give it to her at the price of picking up the leek. He gave it a good name. If he makes friends with Gung Ruoji, he will become a big man. He will not target me especially because of my father. When she lifted her head, her forehead was blue and purple, with a pair of beautiful apricot eyes that were naturally smiling, full of water light. However, she looked up and stubbornly refused to let it flow down. I don't know what kind of grudges my father and Master Gung have, but I only know that my senior brother's eyes were not right when he saw Gung Ruoji. He said, what he likes has always been Gung Ruoji, and I am taking the kindness in return. Master, please let me finish speaking. Gu Chengshu interrupted Yin Zhenghai's attempt to intervene. At this moment, Fenglan Zhenjiang, who had received the news, also stepped into the main hall. With a certain heart, she turned slightly and kowtowed to this senior uncle, saying, the sect has always rumored that I will repay you with kindness. My master is biased towards me and gives me everything. I don't want to be such a person. I basically passed on your rewards to my senior brother. I work hard to do sect tasks, earn money by myself, and produce from the Lingu in the Xiaohe Valley. I send them to the kitchen of Zhengjiang Peak in the hope that some people can say, good, to me, not to say that I ate their food or used theirs. Wan Linglong was simply stunned. Is there such an operation? She looked at those who were kneeling, then at those who were standing, and took a cold breath. After 3 months of contemplating the cliff, it seems that Sister Gu has seen a lot of things clearly. She not only wants to divorce, but also has to strip Uncle Gung's face, Uncle Yin's face, and pull off the pants of some people in Yincheng in Tianxiang Peak. Hiss amazing. Master. I don't want my father to be ashamed of me. Please give me a way to survive. When her head was about to knock down again, it was held up by Fenglan Zhenjiang. Dan Tai senior brother, her voice was extremely cold, for the sake of junior brother Gu, the engagement has been terminated, and Chengshu is with me. Dan Taishua said, He knew what tricks the little girl would hold back when she came, but he didn't expect to hold back such a big move. With a sigh, Dan Taishua looked at Yin Zhenghai's face, which was purple with embarrassment, but he was angry and said, forceful efforts are not sweet. Let's cancel the engagement between Chengshu and Yincheng. Junior brother, I know you are dedicated to practicing hard, but you should also care more about the affairs of the disciples at Feng Tu. How about this? Seeing him about to speak, Dan Taishua struck a firm tone and said, Chengshu's current emotional instability has made her temporarily reside in Mingfeng Valley. Take Yincheng back and teach him well. I really took a wrong look. Before, he thought Yincheng was pretty good. I didn't expect it. Dan Taishua noticed that he had taken a closer look. But Tianxiang Peak, looking at the little girl on her forehead, which was bruised with blood, a hint of unbearable expression flashed in Dan Taishua's eyes. This child used to be one-minded, spending money like flowing water. Can force her to keep accounts. Let's not talk about the past, but for the Lingu in the small valley, I hope my junior brother can make it up for her. That's what Uncle Wushang named her. Xiaohe Valley didn't give it for his sake. You can't take advantage of it like this. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Bleeding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Bleeding. Xiaohe Valley was indeed named by Master Wushang to Chengshu, but isn't he not at home? For so many years, apart from a limited number of people, who knows? Senior brother Dantai pointed it out like this. Zhenghai's heart skipped a beat and he quickly nodded, naturally. If I had known this time that turning a blind eye would have caused such a big mess, Chengshu, I apologize to you for being a teacher. Zhenghai glared at his own fool with a somewhat sinister expression. I'll just take this beast. Master. Standing next to Feng Lan, Gu Qingshu's courage grew stronger. Please don't punish senior brother for me anymore, master. Every time you punish me, I will be talked about for several days. Although the truth is clear, rumors are as sharp as knives. For the sake of my father, and for the sake of our years of mentorship, please don't punish senior brother for me again. Zhenghai. The color on his face became increasingly gray. Siguo, why did Gung Shu take her to Siguo Cliff? Did he find anything? Okay. Master won't punish him anymore. In an instant, Zhenghai thought a lot and said, Master is not a good master. I don't know how to teach you. Senior brother, let me go to Poison Dragon Beach. Tianshan Peak. Let Chen Jing come back. Dantai Shua glanced at Fenglan Jr.'s sister and pondered for a moment. Done. These things. Zhenghai bent down and saw the numerous rewards and transfers he remembered, including several strokes from the Yin family. His facial muscles couldn't help but tremble a few times. Master, I will supply you again. Master, Gu Qingshu interrupted again, I don't want to be ambushed and killed in the middle of the night. Zhenghai was speechless. Except for his foolish son, everyone else who could be here was human sperm. Anything he said now may not be right. If you really want to give it, then in the name of my father, convert it into lingu and donate it to the sex food workshop. As you wish. Zhenghai concealed the sharp expression in his eyes. He didn't expect that the stinky girl could still say this sentence. But in front of everyone, he could no longer pretend not to know. The reward given to the disciple was taken back by his own son for various reasons and even doubled until now. Zhenghai could feel a surge of divine consciousness rushing in to look at a pile of account books on the ground. This is really, if it weren't for his good health, he would feel like vomiting blood. However, although he hasn't vomited blood for a while now, his chest is really stuffy. Zhenghai covered his chest and said, Senior Sister Feng, Chengshu. I'll trouble you. You don't need to say beautiful things. Fenglan Zhenjiang pulled Gu Qingshu up and said, Senior brother, I'll take Chengshu back to Mingfeng Valley first. If you have time, please have some tea. Go ahead. Before he could finish speaking, Dan Taishua noticed the little girl's farewell gesture and was about to do it. He was then pulled out of the Lingyun Hall by Feng Lan. Oh. Sure enough, it's still Feng Lan. I don't want the little girl to bow to junior brother Yin again. Dan Taishua doesn't admit it, he was also angered by his junior sister. Ling Long, take this account book and calculate the specific price. I will send it to your Uncle Yin later. Even the smallest mosquito is still meat. No, where are these mosquitoes? This is clearly a spirit cow that he can eat for a year. Although he just said that it's okay not to talk about the past, the little girl was very angry and helped him retrieve it. As for the production of Xiaohe Valley, junior brother Yin, you can compensate him with 500 pieces of medium-grade spirit stones. Seeing that my junior brother's face is so bad and the little girl has been eating there for 13 years, he should speak less. 500 yuan is not enough. 600 yuan. No matter how little money you have, you can't save at this time. Although he can't salvage much of his image now, he always has to struggle. I have made up for the money and will guard the sect in such a dangerous place as the Poison Dragon stall. After more than 10 or 20 years, I will not be held back by others. Zhenghai immediately took out a spirit stone bag from his storage ring and said, Ling Long, could you please help me hand this over to Chengshu? The account here. should also be handed over to me as soon as possible. At the latest, I have to leave the day after tomorrow. Yes. Wan Linglong took the spirit stone bag containing 600 pieces of medium-grade spirit stones and said, I will calculate the accounts and send them over later. Yin Zhenghai nodded and said, Senior brother, goodbye. He tugged at his son and left as quickly as possible. At this moment, Yin Qing felt like he had come back to life. In the Lingyun Hall, everyone's gaze at him, Dad. Shut up. Yin Zhenghai's chest heaved violently. I don't want to talk to you now. From today on, you can do whatever you want. He went to great lengths to plan for him, for the Yin family, but this fool don't you like Gung Ruoqi. He admired him only when he had the ability to marry her back. Otherwise, it's better not to have this son. But one thing, remember to me, don't provoke Gu Chengshu anymore. The stinky girl has been obedient to him for more than 10 years. In a blink of an eye, she dug a pit for their father and son that they may never be able to climb out in their lifetime. She already hates you now. Go provoke again, it's not good, meet her again in the future and avoid her. It was also his carelessness. If I had known earlier, I should have mentioned more about this dumbfounded genius. Yin Zhenghai regretted it immensely. The 3 months of contemplation are truly a damn 3 months. Dad. Yin Cheng's tears suddenly fell down. At first, it was clear that she took the initiative to give it to me. I couldn't have used so much. Did you forget that you also kept a group of dog legs? Yin Zhenghai pressed down his anger in his heart and looked at the foolish son, your lackeys used to be ordinary external disciples. Don't you think that since I followed you, their cultivation has been slowly increasing? Gu Chengshu's hands relaxed, and his son didn't hesitate. He used to be too lazy to correct things, but the one who benefited was his son, the Yin family. But now, I'm really used to you, Yin Cheng. Do you know how Lingshi earns it? He is really going to be angry to death. Brother Gu's storage ring is still sealed in the sect. If you want to take action again in the future, just Yin Zhenghai gritted his teeth and said, from now on, I won't subsidize you with another spirit stone. Don't even think about it with your family. Yin Qing lowered his head and said. Yes. He knows that this is a very serious problem. But his father really hasn't subsidized him for a long time. At the family's place, thinking of the spiritual and magical tools of several clan brothers that he had forwarded, Yin Qing couldn't help but glance towards the direction of Mingfeng Valley. Did he really take all the things that his father rewarded Gu Chengshu, and even? Did he let her post a lot? Those accounts. Yin Cheng's face became even more disheartened. What face does he have to face people when it comes out? Will Ruoqi still pay attention to him? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. I borrow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. I borrow. The Lingyun Hall finally quieted down. Give the ledger to the people below to calculate, and Wan Linglong sits next to her master, drinking tea with him. Uncle Yin, when he goes back, he will definitely vomit blood, she said. Puff, don't worry, he's in good health and won't vomit blood, Dan Taishua said, almost spitting out a sip of tea. I didn't sympathize with him, I just feel. Wan Linglong frowned, why is he like that? What Yin Cheng is wearing is all top-notch magical tools. Can't the martial uncle who hasn't been subsidized see it? Oh, in his mind, the meat is rotten in his own pot. Dantai Master smiled and said, you martial uncle, your heart is higher than heaven, and your life is thinner than paper. If possible, he would rather have died with Yin Zhenghai back then. If it weren't for Yin Cheng's excessive cooking, the meat would always be in his pot. Becoming the leader, what hasn't he seen before? There are just some things that cannot be thoroughly investigated, let alone delved deeper. There is no great ability in the world of cultivating immortals, and they have grown up entirely through the care of others. Compared to the outside world, the hardships within the sect are nothing. If the hardships in the sect cannot withstand, then nothing can be brought up. What surprised me was Chengshu. When I meet you again, take care of yourself. Yes. Master doesn't say, Wan Linglong will also take care of it. Master, what's the difference between Master Gung and Master Gu? Master has been down for more than 10 years, and he still wants to vent his anger on Sister Gu. Can he be a good leader of the punishment hall like this? Don't worry about the elder's affairs. Can he become a good leader of the punishment hall? I want you to go and see more and think more. The water is so clear that there are no fish. It's better to keep one eye open and one eye closed when things don't get in front of you. Alright, the accounts over there are almost ready. Hurry up to Zhengjiang Peak and collect what you should have received. Falling into a bag is safety. Moreover, this is also the first time in his life that he has taken advantage of Yin Zhenghai for such a fair and justifiable reason. Although the Yin family has developed well in recent years, it is impossible for them to have so much inventory of Lingu. To prevent them from delaying installment payments or directly relying on them, you must personally go, even if they lend money everywhere. Today, you have to watch them make up for it for me. Yes. Wan Linglong could hear her master's dissatisfaction with Uncle Yin. She is also willing to knock on the people of the Yin family and Zhengjiang Peak in this matter. You wait for my good news. When Wan Linglong stood up and headed towards Zhengjiang Peak, almost all the cultivators who came and went to Lingyun Peak knew about today's divorce scene. Who could have thought of it? Even those who are not smart can still come up with many things from this big play. It's just that Elder Yin is still in the sect, Elder Fenglan has a bad temper, and one or two people started fighting because of their talkativeness. The consequences are unimaginable. So, no matter what I thought in my heart, I held back for a while. Does it hurt? Mingfeng Valley, when Fenglan smeared medicine on Gu Qingshu's forehead, she was angry, and heartbroken. I don't know how to be gentle. Why put so much effort into it? After being wronged, your senior brother Jiang doesn't care, don't you know how to send a message to your senior uncle? Shibua. Gu Qingshu was in tears, Shibua. The grievances that naturally arise from the original body can no longer be suppressed. Gu Qingshu's nose was sour and her eyes were hot. At first, I didn't know why it was like that, she said. Master clearly loves me so much. The Yin family has shown goodwill several times. But slowly Master, I'm so stupid, so stupid. Fenglan. She shook her hands and the tearful girl hugged her tightly. You're not stupid, let alone stupid. It's because some people have too many paragraphs, she said. In the first 2 years, she was at home and she didn't see that junior brother was so capable. Fenglan is also very angry. Shui's junior sister is missing, Gu's junior brother is dead, and her master and she are not at home. Who else would scrutinize the matter of Zhengjiang Peak? The surname Yin is hypocritical and insincere, and she has acted so cleverly. After she left, the 11-year-old girl was like a mute eating yellow lotus, suffering indescribably. Being able to awaken oneself thinking of Siguo, the blood stains on the little girl's middle clothes had already solidified. Fenglan was only angry that Yin Zhenghai was hiding quickly, otherwise she would have beaten him all over the ground and searched for teeth. But Poison Dragon Beach, don't worry, Master will keep this account for you. I can't spare the old one, the young one. I'll find my own venue. How well behaved. Fenglan wiped her tears and said, Senior uncle won't leave for a while. He's been in Mingfeng Valley for a while, so don't go anywhere. Shibua, I need to take a trip to Fengshe. Gu Qingshu also wanted to take a break, but there were some things that needed to be done early. My dad left me a grocery store in the neighborhood, and the old man who was looking at the store didn't know that I had broken ties with the Yin family. It wouldn't be good if he lent them something again. Fenglan. Then let's go. Do you want Shibua to accompany you? No need, just borrow me a veil to isolate my divine sense, senior uncle. There must be some in her father's storage ring, but it's sealed in a sect and she can't hold it until the pill is formed. Fortunately, she couldn't hold it. If it were in her hand, it might have been gone long ago. I'll send it to you. Feng Lan touched a small bamboo hat for her, and the ethereal veil fell down, unable to penetrate her divine sense. Go and return quickly, she said, I'll borrow it. Gu Chengshu was scared and said, Master, after I finish working on the shop, I have to go back to the small valley. The spiritual field there hasn't been cleaned yet, so I have to go back and clean it up. Whether it's Zhengjiang Peak or Mingfeng Valley, they are all other people's land. She has a family and a career, why do she have to rely on others? I'll come and see you when I'm busy. Feng Lan. She strangely understood her unfinished words. With a sigh in her heart, she took out a blue jade magic pendant and personally hung it on her waist. All right, you can do whatever you want. But you can't refuse this thing. It's also called a mother and son pendant. When pinched, it can generate a spiritual shield and block the 3 combos of the Jidan cultivator. Even the senior uncle can immediately know. Over the years, Shibwa hasn't taken good care of you. If you refuse again, Shibwa will be sad. Junior brother Gu has left a lot of good things for this child. When Feng Lan is considering finding the head senior brother to drink tea, she needs a few items to come back and save her life. It also prevents this child from constantly worrying and being murdered for money. Shibwa. Thank you. I will definitely come often. If you have free time, you can also go to Xiaohe Valley and I will make delicious food for you. Can you make something delicious? Feng Lan was both hopeful and heartbroken. In the years when everyone was away, this child didn't know how much hardship he had endured. How can we let go of such a good thing? I'll go tomorrow, she said, it's a deal. Gu Chengshu became happy and said, I promise I will surprise you. Although there is little practice, and even due to illness, she is not able to eat much, it does not hinder her research on food. Otherwise, how boring should the days lying down be? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Essential Accounts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Essential Accounts. As one of the 4 major immortal sects in the Fuyuan realm, Lingyun sect naturally has a bustling market. Passing through the bustling Zhuke Street, Gu Chengshu had just turned to the relatively less crowded Jingyuan Street when she saw a flying sword passing a message straight into the Baochang building. Her eyes couldn't help but squint as she lifted her feet and walked into her own self-cultivation shop. What does the guest want to see? Uncle Yu, it's me. Chengshu. In this world, only Chengshu calls him old Uncle Yu. Yu Sanzhong's old eyes suddenly lit up and his voice trembled slightly. It's good to be back, it's good to be back, he said upon hearing that she had been punished and missed the cliff. Yu Sanchong went to the neighboring Baochang building more than 10 times to ask for the help of Yin Eri to knock on the barrier and let Elder Yin know earlier. Damn it, the other party kept saying they agreed and even took the gift, but kept dragging on day by day. In the end, they gave him a sentence. 3 months will come soon, and Chengshu may not agree with them to beg for Gengshu. Xue Zhuang looked at the shop. After instructing the staff, Yu Sanzhong and Gu Chengshu entered the inner room together. Feng Lan Jinjuan has returned. Have you seen her? The only thing they can hope for now is Feng Lan Jinjuan. Before, Feng Lan Jinjuan was not here, and he had no choice, but now, I came from Mingfeng Valley. Gu Chengshu took off her hat and said, don't worry, having a forehead injury is something she can't do. She doesn't have the ability to immediately make it disappear. A little injury, it's worth it to get the engagement terminated. What? Yu Sanzhong became solemn and said, how could Elder Yin possibly agree? After so many years, he has already understood some things. The people who can support them are not at home. If we really want to make trouble, there won't be any shops. It doesn't matter if he gets older, but Chengshu's life, the master's uncle personally helped me resolve my engagement. Isn't it Fenglan Zhengjiang? You. Tell me the process again. It's too late. Zhengjiang will probably come over to lend in a while. Uncle Yu, I have already checked with them. Take out the account books related to the Yin family and force them to repay the debt. Ah. Yu Sanzhong was stunned and said, You. My master is very shameful. Gu Chengshu smiled and said, Then let's have the Yin family wrap his face around him well. But you. Uncle Yu, I died once at the Siguo cliff. Gu Chengshu turned to him and said, Master Fenglan promised me that he won't leave for the time being. It's my good master who's going to poison Dragon Beach. Uncle Yu listens to you. Upon hearing her say that she had died once at the Siguo cliff, Yu Sanzhong's heart seemed to have been pricked. They have nothing left to return. I'll bring my account book with me now, and before they come to us, let's find them first. After enduring it for so many years, he has already endured enough. Gu Chengshu saw him take the account book and felt happy in her heart. If they talk to my master again, you can say it's because of Master Fenglan's intentions, she said. Shibwa should be able to acquiesce, right? It will definitely default. Moreover, the Yin family didn't have the courage to ask their senior uncle. Thinking of this, Gu Chengshu felt relieved and said, Uncle Yu, if their family wants to be pursued by the sect for debt, they definitely don't have any money. 13 years of fake generosity, coupled with what she filled in, is enough for the Yin family to feel a little nervous. You just say, if you don't have money, you can use something to offset it. Whatever you want, you'll have to go to Uncle Fenglan's place to pay the bill later. Okay. It's best to push everything onto Fenglan Zhengjiang. Yin Zhenghai didn't even have the courage to challenge Fenglan Zhengjiang, let alone the Yin family. Yu Sanzhong was both pleased and heartbroken. At first, they really treated Tianxiang Peak and the Yin family as their own homes. Discovering something wrong, Chengshu is much more difficult than him. Now Yu Sanzhong hurried to the next door, but Gu Chengshu couldn't calm down. She directly opened the mechanism on the legs of the table, took out the storage ring for spiritual stones in the store, and picked up a large cloak that Uncle Yu occasionally used to participate in secret markets, then went to sweep the goods. The Yin family cannot have so many ordinary lingmi. But the debt of the sect. That master may not allow them to stay overnight. Gu Chengshu, who received her original memory in emotional soul group, knew that not only did her father say that the headmaster was stingy, but also Fenglan and the good master had secretly vomited. She bought all those rice first, let them be in a hurry. As soon as Gu Chengshu left through the back door, Wan Linglong took Yin Zhenghai's handwritten book and personally rushed to Baochang building. It turns out to be Fairy Wan. Fairy Wan, wait a moment, I'll have the staff go and mix the goods for you. Yin Zhengjiang was infuriated by Yu Sanchong. He hasn't gone to find him yet, he dares to, but when Wan Linglong arrived, he was not an ordinary person. He could only greet him with a smile and say, Young mistress, take my ID card quickly, go to various stores to check the goods, and tell all the shopkeepers. After I finish this period of work, please invite them to Qingfeng Tower for a drink. Yes. When Xiao Sanzi's colleague responded loudly, he glanced at Yu Sanchong. I heard that this person used to be called Xiao Sanzi. Because of him, the shopkeeper changed his name. Yu Sanzhong didn't seem to see the young mistress's gaze and only held on to the ledger. Manager Yin, these accounts really can't wait any longer. Fenglan Zhengjiang has sent a message that if you don't clear the accounts today, she will take the ledger and kiss Tianxiang Peak later. This. Yin Zhengjiang wants to grit his teeth. Their cooked duck actually flew away. Brother, now I'm afraid I have a cannibalistic heart. Over the years, he has had a lot of personal gain, and if he really wants Fenglan Zhengjiang to throw the ledger in the face of his elder brother, the consequences will be unimaginable. Wan Xian, you drink tea. He poured tea for Wan Linglong before putting on a smile again. Manager Yu, even if Chengshu and Yincheng can't be married after all these years of friendship between our families, they are still the closest siblings. You. Have you ever thought about her future? I don't have time to think now. Yu Sanzhong sighed and said, you know the temper of Senior Fenglan. What can you and I turn around when she decides? Zhengjiang. His heart hurts so much. Why did Fenglan come back? Why are you still coming back at such a crucial time? If I had known, but I don't have that much cash now. It's okay, as Senior Fenglan said, both of us have stores and we don't have any money. It's the same with using goods as collateral. Cough, Wan Linglong almost choked on a sip of tea. No wonder Master would say that Master Fenglan is the most difficult to deal with. Uncle Ian is running towards the Poison Dragon Beach in such a hurry, so he is also afraid of being blocked by her. Don't look at me, you guys keep going. Wan Linglong smiled at the two of them and said, I also know about Uncle Fenglan's temper. Manager Ian should have cleared the accounts earlier. I want to treat everyone well. If we really want to fight, her master may not even be able to please her. As for junior sister Gu, she won't even return to Tianxiang Peak for a while. After clearing the accounts, I think Uncle Ian will also be better off. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Worried Ian Zhengjiang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Worried Ian Zhengjiang, who is the backstage of Baochang Building. Tianxiang Peak Master, Yuan Ian Zhenjuan. Little Sanzi never thought that with such a big mountain on his back, a single spirit stone could buy more than 10 pounds of spirit rice, but he wouldn't be able to adjust it. The shopkeepers around here have always been willing to help their Ian family, but today, sorry, I really don't have this ordinary spirit rice today. The goods are sold out, it's not that he doesn't want to adjust them. Chen, the shopkeeper of Fengyuan grain store, smiled and said, we have a big customer here. Take a look, they have bought all my savings. He filled his place with large wooden barrels filled with rice, and there was even a bit of spatial magic carved on the barrels. However, today, the bottom row of more than 10 wooden barrels was completely empty. You can go to a few more places to ask. How many more transfers? Xiao Sanzi's face suddenly changed. He has already transferred 4 times in a row. It's just like Fengyuan grain store, where expensive lingmi is available, but ordinary lingmi is sold out. This is not right. Manager Chen, do you know the big client? Said the third child, taking a sip of saliva. I don't know you. Chen, the shopkeeper, suspected that Yin Zhengjiang had asked the mistress to transfer goods in order to complete their business. He shook his head on the spot and said, it's just inferior lingmi. It doesn't make much money, and the other party is wearing a big cloak that isolates their spiritual consciousness. Even if they ask for their name, do you believe it? There are too many cultivators wearing such cloaks on the street. Don't mention him. Even if Elder Ian personally comes over, he cannot lift these people's cloaks. The mistress swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, well, I'll ask a few more companies. Go ahead and tell Manager Ian that I'll treat him to tea someday when he's free. He watched as the boy's footsteps floated forward, and let out a fierce scream. But at this point, the mistress could no longer care about anything else and ran to another unfamiliar place. After receiving the same answer, he dared not delay any longer and hurriedly returned to report. Not far away, Gu Chengshu watched him walk. The Ian family has business dealings with any of them, and Uncle Yu has been nagging him about it. So, she first swept all the food from these few households. Although there are not many spirit stones now, for safety reasons, we still need to sweep them. She carried 11 heavy storage bags and then walked towards the Sai Hall. Buy ordinary spirit rice with 75,000 spirit stones. Yes. I'm sorry. The waiter's face stiffened. Our family's lingmi is always limited in purchase and cannot be sold for more than 300 pounds. Is that right? Gu Chengshu's heart was filled with joy, and she liked such shops. Even ordinary lingmi needs to be restricted in purchase. Yes. The waiter nodded. Taoist friends don't believe it. You can take a look at the notice over there. Our Sai Hall is an industry of the Cultivation Alliance. No matter what level of spiritual rice, everyone is the same every day, with a limit of 300 pounds to purchase. That's great. This means that it is impossible for the Yin family to buy from here. Excuse me, let me go to another house and take a look. Gu Chengshu's voice turned around lightly. Perhaps because I was too happy, my voice this time was not concealed. In the store, a cultivator dressed in similar styles, regardless of gender, took the spiritual tea she had bought and walked out with her. After a while, Gu Chengshu finally spent all her money. More than 900,000 spirit stones. I bought about 9 million pounds of spirit rice, not to mention sweeping all the goods in the Lingyun Zhongfang market, at least 1/9 of them. Next she swaggered past the door of Baochang building. At this moment, Zhengjiang in the store was so anxious that he couldn't help but smoke. The Wan Linglong face of Lingmi was cold and solemn. She doesn't care if that mistress's words are true or false, she only recognizes Lingmi. I only recognized the cheapest ordinary Lingmi. There are over 100,000 disciples from the outer sect, and some shameless disciples from the inner sect occasionally take advantage. The sect consumes nearly 50 million pounds of light spiritual rice annually. This needs to be replaced with expensive lingmi. Where can we afford to raise it? Fairy Wan, please allow me a few more days. Zhengjiang bent over and said, I promise. You can't guarantee it. Wan Linglong had no intention of giving face. Manager Yin, I'll give you half an hour more. After half an hour, there won't be enough lingmi left. You and some of the leaders of the Yin family are going to the execution hall to have tea. How can this work? Because of Gu Chengshu, the Yin family has become a joke. If we all go to the execution hall like this, you. Wait a moment, I'll definitely make it for you. It's impossible for things to happen so coincidentally. Behind it must be Fenglan Jinjuan playing tricks. But no matter how mischievous she is, she cannot buy out the entire neighborhood. As long as we give him 3 more days, the Yin family will definitely be able to raise money and buy enough from other places, but now there is no money in the store, and he also has no money. The Yin family has done their best, and the several aristocratic families around them have borrowed everything they can. His 8 million pound share here, although many, was originally borrowed from everyone. It was not too difficult. After thinking about it, he could only ask for the old thing from Sanchong again. Zhengjiang's chest was so stuffy that he poured another cup of tea for Wan Zuzong, tried hard to put on a smiling face, and ran to the next door. Brother you also heard what the third son said before. He rubbed his hands as if he had just opened a store a few years ago and said, I can't get enough of this lingmi for a while. Can you help me? Help. You tripled the pitch. The old man never expected that Chengshu's courage would be so great that she would take all the spiritual stones in the store to buy spiritual rice, cutting off the back line of the Yin family. It's not impossible, but... You say, anything I can do is fine. I have to go to Fenglan Jinjuan's place to pay the bill tonight. The old man sighed and said, all right, I'll gather some lingmi for you. You can use the things from Baochang building to offset it. Arrived again. It has already covered quite a bit. A new batch of talismans, magical tools, and a few gourds of good wine were all brought to him in the store. Still worth it thinking of his ancestors who were still waiting in the store. Zhengjiang couldn't stand it anymore and said, Cheng. He only has this one choice. Big brother is going to poison Dragon Beach, and when they enter the execution hall again, the Yin family doesn't even have anyone to support them. We still lack about 8 million kilograms of spirit rice. which would be 800,000 yuan if we convert it to spirit stones. Wrong, oh. Yu Sanchong interrupted him and said, in business, what do I want if I don't make money? Is it a waste of time? Even if I want to be a waste of time, Fenglan Zhengjiang will definitely not be willing to do it. In this way, I will gather 8 million pounds of spirit rice for you, and you will receive an additional 840,000 yuan of spirit stones. 840,000. What else is there in Baochang building when the goods reach 840,000 yuan? In Zhengjiang's veins jumped on his forehead, wanting to say something. This is taking advantage of the fire to rob, but thinking of Fenglan Zhengjiang and his ancestors waiting in the store, he really didn't have the courage. Okay. He stomped his foot and said, in 15 minutes, you can gather all the goods for me. Sure, Yu Sanzhong didn't believe him, but we need to calculate what we should have in front of Linglong Ferry. Success. The confrontation between the two families caught Wan Linglong's eye with her divine sense, and Yu Sanzhong's appearance also made her suspect that it was Uncle Fenglan who was playing tricks inside. However, this business is doing something amazing. This includes both her and her master. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Inviting guests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Inviting guests. Withdrawal, deceiving others, debt collection, and another scam. Today's life. Perfect. Although she became a poor person, Gu Chengshu was very happy. Holding the spirit stone supported by Uncle Yu, she had a piece of meat in her left hand and a chicken in her right, without any regard for the image of a fairy. After 3 months of eating and drinking, Gu Chengshu felt like she could eat a cow now. What pigu? Not existing. Just holding her makes me want to swallow saliva. Braised pork belly in brown sauce, chicken with ginseng, large plate fish, and roast lamb chop. This is what she used to be. She can't eat. Now how can we continue to disappoint? Wan Linglong, accompanied by 2 deacon disciples, was carrying a Qiankuan jade box filled with storage bags. As she walked towards the sect, she couldn't help but squint at the fleeting figure not far away. That's Sister Gu, right? Although wearing a small bamboo hat that isolates divine consciousness, her breath is definitely hers. So, is Sister Gu also a participant in today's small business battle? Wan Linglong's mouth couldn't help but curl up. She served as a backer for Yu Sanchong twice in a row today. He has basically finished moving the warehouse in Baochang building. Lingmi storage room. I'll go to Mingfeng Valley. Yes. Sister Gu donated nearly 2 years of spiritual rice supplies to the sect at once, and we are grateful. The deacon disciple was very happy. Could you please tell Sister Gu that the public notice board of our food workshop will include Uncle Gu's name book tomorrow? In the future, when she eats at the restaurant, we will make it for her separately. Wan Linglong. Okay. Who made her not have the money to donate rice to such a large restaurant? Waving her hand, her speed quickened and she headed straight for Mingfeng Valley. Anyway, she wants to help her master stabilize the 2 days when Uncle Yin is still in the sect. Based on Fenglan's temperament, Wan Linglong suspected that if Gu Jr. sister cried a few more times, senior uncle could immediately kill Tianxiang Peak. Taking advantage of her junior sister's absence, she went to comfort her first. Gu Chengshu, who was full of delicious food, didn't know anyone was going to dig into her corner. Returning to the small river valley, she rolled up her sleeves and searched through her memories, picking up a 4-pound second-order green kuan from deep in the river bend. Now is the time to showcase your skills. However, before showcasing the craftsmanship, after thinking for a moment, Gu Chengshu took out a transmission note that she had just taken from the store, transmitted it with divine awareness on the spot, enhanced her spiritual power, and sent it to Mingfeng Valley. If Master Fenglan has free time, he can definitely come over for dinner. Today was so smooth, thanks to senior uncle. Gu Chengshu decided to talk to her senior uncle about raising her banner and deceiving the Yin family. She felt that if Master found out, he would happily drink 2 more glasses of wine. Gu Chengshu pulled out the youngest ginseng from her father's small medicinal garden, washed it first, and stewed it with second. Order chicken. The kitchen, which had not been open for a long time, suddenly became lively because of her. On this side, Wan Linglong waited outside the Mingfeng Valley for a while, but no one set up a formation restriction for her. She stood honestly. It is impossible to know anything about the situation of Zhengjiang Peak. Just she is a master disciple and an unmarried couple. Although Gu Shimi has already used her actions as a sect mission to show them that she is relying on herself, she has not made it clear to them. There are so many affairs in the sect, and I originally thought that my junior sister's spiritual root qualifications were not bad, and there was still a large inheritance to inherit. When she advanced to Jidan, no matter what happened to Uncle Ian or the Ian family, at least on the surface, she wouldn't be bad. But I didn't think now that Master Feng Lan is venting her anger, Wan Linglong is also very helpless. She really didn't expect that Yin Cheng would be so foolish. I feel like he was deliberately fooled by Master Yin. Yin Cheng was not like that when he was young. Wan Linglong let out a soft sigh. The future Zhengjiang Peak will not be peaceful. Uncle Yin Wan Linglong was thinking about having Feng Lan beat up Yin Shishu, making him afraid and not daring to show his crooked thoughts towards Gu Shimi. When it was better, a passing note flew over and was also blocked at the valley entrance. Feng Lan felt it. She dodged and walked out. Linglong, pay respects to senior uncle. Wan Linglong pretended not to see senior uncle, ignoring her, and said, Senior uncle, I just came back from the market and I have good news for you. The Baochang building of the Yin family has already paid off all the debts owed to junior sister Gu. Oh. Feng Lan raised her eyebrows and clicked on the transmission note. Master. Gu Chengshu's voice was light, I'm cooking something delicious. If you have free time, come over now and let's have a drink together. I have been hungry for 3 months. Although my appetite must be good, with your company, I can definitely eat more delicious. Feng Lan sighed lightly and said, Linglong, I know your master and disciples are all busy, but helping Chengshu really won't take long. When she said this, she actually didn't have much confidence. Because her disciple is also at home. Even her disciple may not only have watched coldly, but was also misled into stepping on Chengshu's feet. You're different from the riverbank. He can be stupid, but you can't. She turned to look at her and said, moreover, whether it's Chengshu, Jiangbian, or Yin Cheng, their identities and spiritual roots represent their lowest achievement, which is also the Jidan realm. You look at the 3 of them like that, because of some people's selfishness, they are deliberately nurtured and misled. Do you think there is any responsibility? Wan Linglong. Sweat suddenly burst out from her forehead. Originally, she was also wrong. Senior uncle. She said with some difficulty, I'm here to apologize. Excuse me. Feng Lan Zhengjiang sighed and said, that's not necessary. You can go to the Ancestors' Hall to apologize yourself. Also, let me tell your master that I need to bring out a few items of Gu's belongings for Chengshu. Yes. Wan Linglong lowered her head, I will definitely bring Uncle Shi's words to you. Feng Lan felt that she was really much better than her foolish disciple. In the future, when you have time, please take care of the riverbank more, so that he won't keep causing trouble for you foolishly. This sentence is really hard for Wan Linglong to respond to. Uncle Ian is still very clever in handling some things. Their master and disciples just discovered a little problem and didn't delve into it, let alone by the riverbank. Alright, I'm making things difficult for you by the river. Her disciple is hers, she should teach. Feng Lan Zhengjiang sighed and said, let's move on to the matter of apology. First, accompany me to the small river valley to the small banquet where Chengshu's engagement was terminated. Yes. Wan Linglong raised a smiling face at her. She understands what Shishu means. Eating someone's mouth is short. After eating Gu Shimi's food, if she encounters any problems in the future, she cannot ignore it. In fact, everything that Sister Gu showed today has made her involuntarily want to pay attention. Coincidentally, I also got 2 strings of Cabernet Sauvignon today as a gift for my junior sister. She was particularly obedient in front of Fong Lan. Before coming, the Yin family had already donated Ling Valley to the food workshop in the name of Uncle Gu for almost 2 years according to the bill. If junior sister knew about it, she would definitely be happy. Thank you to my book friend Gu Lingwuking for her 10,000 yuan reward. I would like to express my gratitude to my book friend Gu Lingwuking for watching Fish, Starry Rain and Dreamy Abyss, Bright Moon and Her, Buckwheat Yen M, Small Spoon, Summer is also very cold, No Wind Blows Willows, My Head's Dream, Yaya Wandering, My Only Pet Pigeon, Durian Laughing and Laughing, I Only Read Books Without Leaving a Message, 15 by 93. QDCN, Purple Camellia, TBB 66451037, Bookfriend 201703222224956582, Sky Blue and Other Misty Rain, Confusing Summer Nights, Fragrant Grass and Trees on the Horizon, Crossing Ghosts, Qingluo, Ivra, and Books. Chong Liangxi, Bookfriend 201703222224956582, Why is it so difficult? The author, come to the bowl and wait for the book friend's reward. Thank you to Q readers for the winter rain, the snow season that has frozen our memories, and the reward from the people in our dreams. Thank you to all the book enthusiasts who have read and voted. Thank you all. The new book requires support. If you have a recommendation vote, please support one. Thank you. Thank you all. End of this chapter.